the final pattern that I want to present to you right now is the attack on the h-file. The idea is pretty simple. You play against a castled king and you open the h-file. You can do it with a sacrifice or with pushing your pawns far ahead, and then you try to stack heavy pieces on it. So for example, in the position as you see in the game that was played, black plays queen to g4, and the idea is pretty simple: queen h4, and you mate white. So there is also, by the way, a second option that black could potentially play. That's actually to sacrifice the rook with rook h1, and then after king takes h1, queen to h4 and queen to h2 check. This might become important in case if white can suddenly defend himself or is threatening a mate in one from his side. So saving a move might become relevant in some positions. So nevertheless, this is the position and it's white to move, and white played queen to f5. This move does not defend himself from the danger, and your task is to find a win for black. Now the solution. You could obviously start with queen to h4, and it's fine if you start your calculation with this move, since this is a great threat. You defend f6 and also you do threaten a mate. But white can play queen to h3, that was his idea with queen f5, and you have no attack left. And actually you don't even win a pawn if you try to argue with this continuation, because after king to g2 you just simply lose a piece in the endgame. So instead you have to start with active moves, and these are checks first, and you have 3 possible checks. 2 of them are quite dumb, so the only move that is left is bishop to h2. So we start calculating bishop h2, and we see that white cannot actually move his king to f2 simply because he will lose his queen. Meaning he has to move to h1. And now you have at least a backup. You can still repeat the position with bishop g3, bishop h2 with a perpetual check and a draw. But there's also a way how to win really fast in this position. And if you haven't found it yet, you can do it again. And the right check is bishop to f4. And the reason why it's winning is because the queen is not protected any longer with the rook. So you can take either the queen, or actually even bishop takes e3 also wins, because white cannot save his queen anyway. So let's go to the next position. This is a blitz game. I was playing for black in this position, and both players had a rating above 2600 in online chess, and here it's your task to find an interesting continuation for black. So the solution is quite well straightforward, because there are not many active moves to check. So first of all, are there any checks? The answer is no. Are there any captures? Well, we can capture the knight, which sacrifices an exchange for now, but let's see later. And what is there else to do? Well, there is also threats now available. We can maybe think about knight b3, but white just takes knight, and that's it. That's all of the threats in this position. So if we take on d5, what will white do? Well, probably take back, otherwise we have gained something. So then white we take, white takes. Is there any second move that we can continue with to, well, justify our sacrifice? And the answer is there's maybe bishop f5 check. So let's check it. Bishop f5, king to a1. Again, we have sacrificed an exchange for that. Are we still happy and to continue this position? And the answer is there is another check that is possible, and this is knight to b3. If not for this check, then actually the position or the continuation wouldn't be that great. But with knight b3 check, white has to take, and then queen a5 is a mate. And on the board, this is what it looks like. Everything is forced and quite easily doable. The variation itself might not be as easy to spot just intuitively, but if you really follow this rule of the active moves, well, try it, force it, be stubborn, and do it until the end, then all of these well, combinations and exercises, they are quite simple. They are just your routine of doing it until the end. Next position, it's again black to move, and I'll give you some time. So it's black to move here, as said, and if you have thought about queen to h4, then this is not the solution of the position, and it also is not the best move. It's an occasion move, since you do think about mating white, but white just plays g3, the queen does protect h2, and you haven't won anything. You could argue about queen takes g3 here and saying, well, at least I have won a pawn. Then yes, kinda you do, and the position is still hugely better for black, but it still continues, and potentially you could always lose some games. Instead, let's go back and try to be a bit smarter. If you would have at least spotted the move g3 and tried to argue, well, how about I exchange the bishops first and then I play queen h4, now g3 isn't possible any longer. That's true, but this position is even better and easier to defend than the last one, because white can defend it with the queen. After g3, he plays just h3, and that's it. There is no further attack left. So finally we go back to the start, and now we use the active moves, and the active moves are saying we have to check the checks first, and there is a check. Rook takes h2. Let's check it briefly whether this might be something. So rook takes h2, king takes h2, queen h4, obviously, king to g1, and now the last and final question, is there something that we continue with which might justify sacrificing the rook? And the answer is yes, we can play g3, and then white is in trouble. If you have calculated it to this point, then you did a great job. I'll do it on the board, since this is what I wanted to get as an answer from you. In case you did see the position but still decided that you are not sure whether you are winning, since white maybe can move his rook away and you are not sure and you cannot imagine the position as well, this is fine for now, because it's more important just to see it until this point, and with experience you will calculate deeper. But it is in fact so that white does indeed win, and if white tries to run away with his king, the queen is just simply in its path. Even if king e2 would be possible, in some positions black still continues the attack with queen takes g2 and wins the game anyway, but in this case it's much simpler because it's made right away. Now there is the final position, and it's white to move. And here I present you a classical game between, well, my student and another player. Both are about 2000 Elo. And in this dangerous and risky position, Black decided that he had enough troubles, and he thought about playing queen to b6 with the idea of exchanging the queens, or if White doesn't want to exchange the queens, then queen is, well, quite offensive, and Black could think about, well, mating White himself. In fact, this was a terrible mistake, and this costs Black already the game. So your question is, how does White win here? Now, the solution, you start with a check. Black has to react. He cannot move rook to f7 because, first of all, rook on a8 is hanging. Also, bishop c4 would be a terrible continuation for Black. So he has to move his king away. So in the game, Black played king to h8. And this is the reason why queen to d5 was as great as it was. You can also stop the video if you don't see the solution yet. The solution is to take the bishop. And the idea is that Black simply cannot take back because of rook to h1. Black has to give up his queen, and then White is just a piece up in an endgame. So Black actually lost here straight away. If you haven't found it, well, you didn't use the active moves. Since you need to go for the checks, which are none, you need to see the captures, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first 3 don't do anything, and the fourth one wins the game, so it's easy a choice. Well, let's continue our journey with another move that Black did not play in the game, and it would be king to h7. I will show you the first move, since this is the best one and it feels good for a start. It's move bishop takes f5, and now Black reacts with g6. Now this is the second question that I want to ask you. How would you proceed in this position? Now to the answer. You should not move your bishop, since if you do it, you will just lose straight away. Rook takes f2, and then, for example, king b1, queen takes b2, mate. You also cannot move something in between, because bishop and rook are attacking it twice. So, first of all, you need to, well, at least spot that you will lose after moving the bishop away. But if you wonder what can you do else, again, you can sacrifice the exchange. So we need to check only one single move from Black. What happens if he takes our rook, because otherwise we are way ahead in material. So only this move is interesting, and again we have two different options, and you see it's queen to d7 check and rook to h1 check, because these are all the checks that are left. If you start with queen b7, queen f7, bishop take g6, and so on, these are the only interesting and viable checking options. And your task is that the final one, which one do you want to play here? The answer. If you have decided to move rook h1, this would be a mistake, because after queen takes king g7, you cannot continue your attack, simply because Black can defend himself with the help of his rook. So the king protects the rook, that's the idea. It is usually advisable to bring more pieces into the attack, but as always, attack doesn't work on general rules, but more of concrete positions, and here rook h1 is a bad move. Instead, queen to d7 is the move that is winning here. And now if the king moves to the h-file, then just rook to h1. And if the king moves to g7, then we have bishop e6 check, following by rook to h1 and a mate. And this is just a huge example of a real played game in the classical control, where there are many mistakes possible and they will simply decide whether the game is won or is lost. And well, black was fine in this position, and with only one move he just threw it all away.